The first time I noticed something was off with Rachel was 3 months after our engagement. We had been together for just over 3 years, building what I thought was an unshakable foundation for our future. The diamond ring on her finger caught the light as she texted someone at dinner, angling her phone away from me ever so slightly. "Work stuff," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Brandon needs these projections before tomorrow's client meeting." I nodded and took another bite of my pasta, ignoring the knot forming in my stomach. Rachel had always been ambitious at her marketing firm, but lately, these urgent work matters seemed to be multiplying. Late-night conference calls, weekend planning sessions, a new password on her phone that appeared without explanation. "Everything okay with us?" I asked one night as we lay in bed, the glow of her screen illuminating her face in the darkness. "Of course," she replied, putting her phone down quickly. Why wouldn't it be? I wanted to believe her, I really did. Then came the girls' trip announcement. Rachel mentioned it casually over breakfast one Saturday, spreading jam on her toast as if planning a weekend away with her supposed best friend Melissa was the most natural thing in the world. "Palm Beach has this amazing resort, and Melissa found a deal," she explained, not quite meeting my eyes. "We've been talking about doing this forever." "That sounds great," I said. "When are you thinking of going?" 2 weeks from now, Thursday through Sunday." What struck me as odd wasn't the trip itself, but how vague Rachel was with the details. When I asked which resort, she stumbled before mentioning something about ocean views. When I suggested calling Melissa to coordinate a dinner before they left, Rachel quickly changed the subject. I'm not the jealous type, at least I never thought I was, but something in my gut kept nagging at me. That night, while Rachel was in the shower, I did something I'd never done before. I logged into our shared frequent flyer account, the one we'd set up when we first started traveling together. My heart nearly stopped when I saw her reservation. Rachel hadn't booked a flight with Melissa to Palm Beach. She'd booked a luxury oceanfront suite at the Sandpiper Resort with someone named Brandon Hayes. Her coworker, the same Brandon who apparently needed those urgent projections at 11 p.m. I sat there, staring at the screen, the shower still running in the background. Memories flooded my mind. Rachel's late nights, her guarded phone, the way she'd been distancing herself emotionally while insisting everything was fine. The signs had been there all along, but I'd refused to see them. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I started gathering evidence. Screenshots of the reservation, text messages I found on her tablet that she'd forgotten to log out of, credit card statements showing dinner dates when she was supposedly working late. With each piece of evidence, the picture became clearer, and my pain transformed into something else entirely, calculated resolve. 3 days before her trip, I made a decision. I cancelled her flight to the Sandpiper Resort and booked her a new one, same departure time, same airline, just a very different destination, her parents' house in Lexington. The Adlers had always treated me like family. They deserved to know what their daughter was up to before our wedding invitations went out. The morning of her flight arrived. Rachel hummed as she packed her suitcase, carefully folding what I now recognized as new lingerie she'd never worn for me. "Are you sure you don't want me to go inside with you?" I asked as I pulled up to the departures terminal, my voice impressively steady. "No need," she said, leaning over to kiss me goodbye. "I'll text when I land." I watched her confidently walk through the sliding doors, rolling her suitcase behind her, a spring and a step that I hadn't seen in months. My college roommate Mark, who worked at the airport, had agreed to keep an eye on her from a distance. I needed to know her reaction. 23 minutes later, my phone exploded with notifications. "Rachel, there's something wrong with my ticket. Did you book this?" "Rachel, where's my luggage? It's not going to Lexington." "Rachel, answer me. Did you do this?" I didn't respond to her messages. Instead, I sent a group text to Rachel, her parents, and her older sister Charlotte. "Hi everyone, Rachel's coming to visit you today. She has something important she needs to explain. I've emailed you all the details. Hope she enjoys her unexpected family reunion." Then I blocked her number, went home, and poured myself a whiskey. The first step of my new life had just begun. I knew the fallout would be immediate. Rachel's parents, Stern, traditional people who'd raised their daughters with firm values would demand explanations. Her sister Charlotte, always protective and straightforward, wouldn't let her dodge questions. What I hadn't expected was the call from Charlotte that evening. "She's a wreck," Charlotte said when I finally answered. "Mum and Dad are, well, you can imagine." "I'm sorry you had to find out like this," I replied, my voice hollow as I stared at the half-empty apartment. I'd spent the afternoon packing Rachel's things, clothes, jewelry, the framed photos I once treasured. "But I'm not sorry for what I did." Charlotte sighed. "I always liked you, you know. I thought you two were going to make it." "So did I admitted. "Tell your parents I'm grateful for everything." After hanging up, I finished boxing Rachel's belongings and arranged for them to be delivered to her parents' house the following day. I changed the locks, something the landlord wasn't thrilled about but agreed to after I explained the situation. Then I called my closest friends. "Meet me at O'Malley's in an hour," I told James, my oldest friend. "I need a drink and good company." That night, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me, I finally let myself feel the full weight of what happened. The betrayal, the shock, the strange emptiness of knowing I'd never trust Rachel again. But there was something else too, a surprising sense of relief. The uncertainty was gone. The nagging doubts, the second-guessing myself, all of it replaced with clarity. "To new beginnings," James said, raising his glass. Everyone at the table followed suit. "To new beginnings," I echoed, though I had no idea what that actually meant yet. The next morning, still nursing a slight hangover, I woke to dozens of missed calls, some from Rachel's parents, several from unknown numbers she was likely using, and one from Brandon Hayes himself. I didn't listen to any of the voicemails. Instead, I went for a long run, pushing myself until my lungs burned and my legs trembled, hoping the physical pain might temporarily eclipse the emotional one. It didn't work entirely, but it helped. By Sunday evening, 4 days after sending Rachel to her parents, I finally felt ready to face what came next. I unblocked her number and sent a simple text. "We need to talk, not about reconciliation, but about logistics. Your choice, if it's in person or over the phone." Her response came immediately. "I'm coming over tomorrow at 7. When she arrived, I barely recognized her. Rachel's normally perfect appearance was disheveled. Hair pulled back carelessly, eyes puffy from crying, wearing an old college sweatshirt instead of her usual polished outfits. "You had no right," she began, her voice catching. "You humiliated me. And you were planning to cheat on me," I replied calmly. "Or had you already started, the physical part, I mean?" She looked away. I had my answer. "How long?" I asked. 3 months, she whispered. "It wasn't supposed to happen. Brandon and I were working late and—" I held up my hand. "I don't need the details. I just need to know why you didn't end things with me first." Rachel sat heavily on the couch we'd picked out together. I was confused. "I love you, I do. But with Brandon, it was different, exciting. I thought I could figure things out without hurting you." I laughed without humor. "Well, that plan backfired spectacularly, didn't it?" We talked for nearly 2 hours. About the wedding we'd now have to cancel, about the apartment lease, about who would tell our friends. Throughout the conversation, I felt strangely detached, as if I were watching two actors perform a scene about heartbreak rather than living it myself. "I am sorry," Rachel said as she was leaving, "not just for getting caught, but for what I did to us." "I know," I replied. And I did know. Despite everything, I knew Rachel wasn't a villain, just a flawed person who'd made terrible choices, like all of us, in different ways. After she left, I opened the balcony door and breathed in the cool night air. There was a strange sense of finality to the evening, like closing a book I'd been reading for years. The story of Rachel and me was over, but somehow I felt lighter. The next few months weren't easy. There were days when the anger returned with unexpected force, times when memories ambushed me, our first date, the night we got engaged, the future we'd planned together. But there were also new moments. Reconnecting with old friends, rediscovering hobbies I'd neglected, learning who I was outside of Rachel's fiancé. 6 months after the airport incident, I ran into Charlotte at a coffee shop downtown. She hugged me tightly. "She's in Seattle now," Charlotte offered, though I hadn't asked. "With her marketing firm, not with Brandon." I nodded, surprised to feel nothing but a vague curiosity. "And how are you?" Charlotte smiled. "I'm good, really good actually. What about you?" "Getting there," I answered honestly, one day at a time. And I was. Rachel's betrayal had knocked me down, but it hadn't broken me. Sometimes the most painful endings can lead to the most necessary beginnings. That's what I choose to believe anyway. As I walked home that afternoon, I realized something important. The story I thought was ending had actually just been the first chapter of a much longer one, my own.
Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more interesting content coming soon.